Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with another video on Gran Turismo 7, and yes, PD have finally realized that we have day and night transition, dynamic weather, and you can pre-select cars and put it all together for one race. And what it equals is one of the best daily races we've had in quite some time, in my opinion. Now, if you do like this video, get subscribed to the Key 25 on YouTube, give this video a like, and let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on this week's daily race. See, I think it's been a real good one so far, with a mixture of dry races, races with weathering, races where you don't know whether it's going to rain or stay dry. It's really been a mixture, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far this week. So let's get into this race where we take on some of the fastest drivers on Gran Turismo 7. So we join the start of the race. You can see here I'm starting from P7. We've got some very fast drivers in this lobby. We've got possibly one of the fastest, arguably one of the fastest controller users behind us there, Calster 25. We've got Lewis, who has been dominating the time trials, along with Damien, who's a bit further back, and Mick Alzal and Consta, a World Tour driver. So, you know, we've got a World Champion, World Tour drivers, one of the fastest controller players, two of the drivers that have been dominating the time trials recently, all in one race together. And this is a daytime lobby. It really does show you what happens when PD create a good combination. And you can see already from the start of that race that there was a little bit of rain around at the start. So when we were looking at the radar, you could see there was a little bit of dynamic weather showing itself around. At this stage, we're on the dry tyres as we've gone straight up to P4 from P7 on the grid. A really good start for us on this race. However, we know what's going to happen here. This is the no chicane layout of Le Mans. So what is going to happen? You're just going to get massive amount of slipstream. Now, this car that was behind me in the Mazda, I'm not sure what he expected to happen here. The slipstream on Gran Turismo is so strong, it's not even worth trying to overtake. Your best bet is to bump draft and help yourself. But again, he goes to the other side. I'm not sure if he thought that the right-hand side would give him a little bit more speed than the left, but basically, he's just losing both of us a lot of time here. So you can see the knock-on effect of this is that Lewis and Calster are just bump drafting, and they've just gone straight past us. So we're going to tuck into their slipstream. We're down to P6, and now we're going to try and stay with them. And we're back on that weather radar. You can see there is some heavy bits of rain lurking around on the weather radar. So there is a high chance that there could be a little bit of rain appearing as we're going into this race further on. And like I said earlier, this race goes into nighttime, and then it's going to go back into the daytime. So we get to see all them amazing graphical features that PD have been hiding for us for 4 years, well, over 3 years now. So pretty crazy that it's took this long to incorporate a race like this into the game. This should have been there within the first month of the game, in my view, races like this. And yeah, let's hope they are seen to be put a little bit more effort into daily races at the moment, as we go up to P3, but we get a little nudge wide there, which is going to knock us back down to P4, and we've got P3 with a 1 second penalty, so we are going to get back into that podium position. Now, you can see on the telemetry also, with this little bit of light rain around, the bar for the telemetry for how wet it is actually slowly building up at some parts of the track. So it is gradually getting a little bit of moisture onto the track, and you do need to keep an eye on that, especially with that weather radar showing dots of rain around. But some of the darker bit of blue has seemed to fade away at this stage. It seems to be disappearing, like appearing somewhere and then fading off, and not actually looking like it's going to hit the track. So we're not going to pit on this lap. The best bet at this stage is stay out on the dry tyres and just keep an eye on that weather radar. You can see through the corners there, you can see Calster in the Nissan, which just doesn't have the ability to carry the speed through them high-speed corners. The Sauber, really high downforce compared to the Nissan, can really carry the speed through them high-speed corners. And you can see we get right back up into the slipstream of Calster there, who is on the control pad. So looking behind us, we have Mick Alzal right behind us there, TRL Lightning, world champion Gran Turismo drivers, and probably regarded as one of the fastest drivers in the world on this game. So the pressure is on here to really hook it up. We're mainly playing Le Mans Ultimate at the moment, so going back into this and being in a situation where we're competing with some of these drivers is a really good feeling, because it means we're starting to adapt really well from one game to the other, and we're managing to pick up our pace here and stay with the two in front of us, and at the moment hold Mikal off. Now, one benefit here is the Sauber is incredibly quick going onto this straight. So you can see what happens there is Mikal has lost the slipstream, and we've got further into the slipstream of Kalster, which is going to benefit myself, Kalster and Lewis all the way up this straight, and it's going to really hinder Mikal behind us there, who's just going to lose massively, because once you're out of that slipstream with Gran Turismo and you have the custom slipstream at play and you've got a straight as long as this, it is really going to be pretty nasty by the time you get to the end of the straight. You can already see from 1 second at the start of the straight, we're now 2 seconds ahead of Mikal, so he's already lost the second, and that's just going to get worse and worse. And you can see there Kalster has put himself into the lead, probably the wise decision there with his car that is quicker on the straight. So Lewis took him behind him, and he's going to bump draft him. Now I picking up the slipstream here, and I thought to myself, maybe we could go for a little move here and then try and stay ahead in the high downforce section where this car's strong. But you can see the slipstream again, we decided to back out there, braking early. However, when we get to the braking set, we braked really early, but you can see as we come into the later phase there, we give Lewis a little bit of a tap up the bomb there, and we've got ourselves a little bit of front damage. Hopefully, I'm not too sure if his car picked up damage, but luckily no harm was really done. We're all still on the slipstream, so apologies to Lewis there. It was an accidental tap, it wasn't anything malicious, but let's keep going and let's see if we can stay ahead of Mikal in P4, who's got Damien right behind him, and obviously Conster as well. So give Lewis a little bit of a bump draft there on the straight to get him a little bit closer to Kalster, but we do know that Kalster is going to start struggling when he gets to the high speed corners. That car, the Nissan, is really weak in them high speed corners, and I think the Porsche in front of us is a little bit better than the Nissan, but I have the best car out of all three of us for the high downforce sections where this car really does excel. Now again, you can see on that weather radar, the rain is still dropping ever so slowly. You can see on the tyre telemetry that it's gradually getting wet, but you can see it keeps disappearing. This heavier rain just keeps vanishing, disappearing at the moment. And at this stage we zoomed in and you could see there was no point pitting now because there's no heavy rain lurking around for this next lap. So again, you're going to see that all of us in the top three here are not going to pit. We're going to carry on these medium tyres, and it's looking like the way the angle of the rain's going, this is going to end up being a dry race. And I do love this unknown about these races though, where you do need to keep an eye on something else other than just racing. You're always paying attention to that weather radar, trying to make sure that you're going to be ready to pit if it does start to rain. And it does add another element to this game, and it really does beg the question why we do not have a race like this to do every single week. You know, whether it's a dry race with all three tyres or something like this with day and night as an extra daily race. I really think it would work on Gran Turismo 7. I think it would entice a lot of people back to the game if they had that extra race to do like this every single week, whether it was Group 3, Group 4, you know, dynamic weather, all three tyres. If we had this option every single week, a lot of people would be sticking with GT7 a lot more. But unfortunately, at the moment, PD don't seem to be willing to make that change, and it is the way it is at the moment. And now we can see here, Kalster's managed to pick himself up a nice little penalty there, which has promoted myself to P2 and right behind Lewis. And you can see there, we've actually managed to get 1.1 second ahead, and we're coming to that again. This is a part of the track that the Nissan hates, and you can see on the Delta how we're managing to pull away from Kalster through here. So we're pushing because I know if I push hard enough through here, we might be able to break the slipstream to Kalster, even though he's in the car that's incredibly quick on the straights. If we work together, myself and Lewis, we might be able to break away and actually increase that gap. So coming into the last sector here now, the last few corners, really attacking the curves. Again, using first gear for a little bit of rotation there, then back up to second gear, and then powering our way over the line. And you can see that gap is pretty much at the end of the slipstream range there for Kalster. So he's going to really need to push through these high downforce corners to be able to stay with myself, because this is where these corners, it's not really that much of a difference between the Nissan, these slower corners. It's when we get into the higher speed corners, which is the next 2 to 3 corners, where we go from right here and then we go to the left. This is where we're going to gain, and then we go back right, and then we do that fast right onto the back straight. That's where we can really carry a lot of speed in the Sauber. And you can even see it versus the Porsche in front of us there, sending it in fourth gear, and just look at the extra grip we get there. You can see we've actually managed to break away now from that slipstream from Kalster. And now if we work well with Lewis, and this is why it's so important to do, there's no point us battling, because if we start overtaking each other, Kalster will catch us back up on the straight with the extra speed he has. So we're going to work with Lewis all the way up the straight and on the next straight, and you can see by the time we get to the end of the second part of the straight, 3 seconds ahead of Calster. That really does show you just how overly powered this slipstream is on Gran Turismo 7. It really is very, very strong when they're using that custom slipstream. So again, we're going to try and keep it smooth through here. We're keeping an eye on the rain. It looks like it's completely faded off now. So at this stage, we know it's going to be a dry weather race. So no need to worry about pitting. It's just a case of keep pushing and pit on that final lap, when it'll be interesting to see how close everyone is. At the moment, it looks like myself, Calster, Lewis obviously in front of us, Consta, Damien and Mikhail Zhao are all on the same strategy of just staying out and not trying to get clean air, which at the moment we're driving really well. So we're actually building the gap up, which is quite unusual to be honest, but we are in probably the stronger car for the race conditions, so we do need to factor that in. But it's still nice to be competing with these drivers and holding our own, and currently in P2. And you can see there Lewis really pushing his car through that sector, and pushing maybe a little bit too much, as he's picked himself up a nice half a second penalty. Now that's going to be really interesting, because as he's going to take that penalty, we might be able to push really aggressively and try and get ahead of him and build a gap up for that final lap. So again, you can see at this stage now what Lewis is trying to do. He's trying to break the slipstream. He's gone super aggressive here, pushing the limits, and that's what we're going to do. You can see down to first gear, really aggressive on the track limits, and I actually thought at that stage either one of them, the cut on the entry or the extension on the exit, was going to give me a penalty, but luckily we managed to get through that without a single penalty. So very, very lucky there. And you can see we actually gained on Lewis, and now we're going to come to that corner again, this right hand corner where the Sauber is just so strong, and we are cleanly in that slipstream, and we're going to again give him the bump draft on this straight. We do not want to overtake at this stage, because we want to work with him for this straight and then maybe try and get past him a little bit closer towards the penalty zone, because we want to be ahead to emphasize that penalty distance that he's going to lose. So you can see giving him the bump all the way on the straight, and then by the time we get to the second straight here, we're going to go for a move, because this is the time to try and get past him. Now there could be a bit of a connection issue there. It looks like Lewis's car lagged a bit, but luckily I think he realized, he backed out, and we're now on the inside, and we put ourselves up into P1. So into P1, Lewis right behind us, and now he's going to take that penalty, which is going to be of massive help to me to try and break away, because we know that we're coming up to the corners that the Sauber is really, really quick on. So Lewis takes a penalty. We're going to keep pushing now and see if we can build up even more of a gap to him. So you can see the delta is going to keep increasing. He gives it a little wiggle during the penalty zone, because what that does is it stops the AI or the game braking as powerfully, because it loses traction, so you don't lose as much time in the penalty zone. So if you're wondering why you're seeing people drastically turn in the penalty zones, that's what they're doing. They're breaking the traction of the front tyres, which means you lose a little bit less speed, which in turn means you lose less time during the penalty zone. So pushing through there, the daytime's coming in now, and the graphics are looking absolutely amazing on Gran Turismo 7. And this is why it baffles me, as we're going to go into the pits here, and we're going to do a no tyre change. But it is absolutely bizarre to me that we're over 3 years into this game, and this is the first time we've gone from day to night to day, and add that in with dynamic weather. Like 3 years, and it's the first time they've done it. It just seems crazy to me that these features are there, and only now they're starting to use them. Maybe it's a sign that they're going to start putting a bit more effort in. We have had recently a little bit more effort put into some dailies. We had the good race at Laguna. There was a race a while ago at Suzuka. Every now and then there's glimpses of hope over the last 2 to 3 months that there is a little bit more effort being put in. So fingers crossed that they can carry this momentum in terms of putting effort into daily races into the next game for a start, and into the remainder of what we've got left of Gran Turismo 7. So again, using that corner to push away, you can see the gaps at 9/10. We're going to try and break that slipstream ever so slightly, and you can see by the time we get to the end of the straight here on the second part of the straight, Lewis is right behind us, and as we go into 5th gear, you're going to see Lewis gain massively in that Porsche. It's almost like his car got a little bit of a boost. So keep your eye on his car there. Look at that acceleration advantage. He's going to try and go for a move round the outside, which he does manage to do very nicely. We give him the space on the left. We're going to try and tuck underneath him with a bit better exit. But look at that. Lewis has picked himself up another half a second penalty. And as we go into this corner, it looks like we're not even going to need to use it, because he loses traction off the curb. We get back past him. He's going to take that penalty. and that was almost a perfect scenario for me to bring it home now for a very well-earned win, and a win that I did not expect to get with the quality of drivers that we've come up against here. You've got world champions, world tour drivers, some of the fastest time trial drivers, and me, some bald old man, manages to take P1. So very, very happy with that. If you enjoyed that race, get subscribed to the channel, hit that like button. I'm very, 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 very much grateful for anyone who does that, and we'll be back with more videos and live streams in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.